Donald Trump is having a terrible morning, some devastating headlines. So he sent his Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent to Capitol Hill to lie about the economy, to lie about tariffs. And moments ago, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was caught committing perjury. He was asked a question about whether when he was running a private equity company, if he said tariffs were inflationary. He said, I never sent a letter like that. Well, we actually have the letter where he literally says that tariffs are inflationary. So he was just caught lying to Congress, which I think should carry with it serious implications. We'll go over that in just a moment as well. But look at some of these grim headlines from various media outlets. And it should be noted as well, the Washington Post today announced massive layoffs. It's going to be cutting about 1/3 of its staff. Sports department, Middle East department is all being absolutely gutted by Jeff Bezos, who gave $70 million to the failing Melania movie and has destroyed the Washington Post. So we can add that to the Kennedy Center and all the other things that Donald Trump is destroying. Great job, Jeff Bezos and Donald Trump. But take a look at some of these dark headlines from the New York Times. Former farming leaders warn that U.S. agriculture could face widespread collapse. A group of past government officials and former heads of farming associations on a bipartisan basis issued a dire warning to members of Congress. Or how about this from the Financial Times? Food and drink companies suffer as U.S. shopper sentiment sinks. Groups report soft sales and plans to cut prices as consumer confidence falls to its weakest level in more than a decade. Actually, the University of Michigan consumer confidence reports show the worst consumer confidence in many, many decades. Really, it's never been this bad since the Great Recession or the Great Depression. I mean, it's that bad. U.S. manufacturing in retreat. This is from the Wall Street Journal. I'm giving you a variety of headlines from different media outlets with different ideological bents, just so you can see that I want to give you a holistic view right here. From the Wall Street Journal, U.S. manufacturing is in retreat and Trump's tariffs aren't helping. Levies on imports were supposed to bring back a golden age of U.S. manufacturing. They haven't worked so far. We all knew tariffs weren't going to do that. Tariffs are inflationary. They are a tax on American companies that are passed on to consumers. Or how about this from the Cato at Liberty organization? This totally imaginary $18 trillion political talking point of Donald Trump continues to be repeated endlessly in the hope that nobody in the public or press would ever be brave enough to rudely ask for some explanation or shred of evidence. And here at the MeidasTouch Network, the moment Donald Trump started saying, I did this $1 trillion deal and that $1 trillion deal, we said, okay, well then show us the documents. Because what I do every morning here on the MeidasTouch Network and throughout the day is I go through the documents. I go through the footnotes. I go through the charts. I go through the graphs. And people say, well, Ben, doesn't your audience find that boring? No, that's what we want. We don't need to see a split screen of people who don't know what they're talking about, shouting and yelling at each other. We want the data and information so we could be informed citizens and understand what the hell is happening. That's also why the Epstein files is absolutely so devastating for this regime, since they're in the center of the cabal. And Donald Trump is at the center of this cabal with Epstein. And again, I'm not saying that to be hyperbolic. I've done deep dive emails where I go through the 38,000 references to Donald Trump on 5,000 documents, and it's only been a partial release of the Epstein files. There's still 3 million more files that have not been produced, which could be 25 to 50 million pages. We've showed you the references and the communications that were taking place between Bannon and Epstein and their communications about Trump and toppling governments. We showed you the communications with Epstein and Prime Minister Ehud, former Prime Minister Ehud Barak of Israel, talking about influencing foreign governments and influence operations. The communications about meetings with Vladimir Putin, meetings with former Prime Minister of Norway, meetings with the royal family in the United Arab Emirates. And all these connections and links are here right now. I mean, this right-wing oligarchy that's behind the scenes, pulling the strings while engaging in child sex trafficking in the Epstein files. And these people, many of them are still around, and they're screwing your lives. And they're making things very difficult and psychologically torturing people. That's what's actually going on right now. So when Donald Trump says, it's time to turn the page, this is what he keeps on repeating. He said it again. It's time we turn the page on the Epstein scandal. No. As Governor Hochul says of New York, it won't matter. His name is on the next page too. So let me show you this, because Bannon's name was all over the Epstein files. He was in like daily text message communications with Epstein about Trump, about everything going on. And then even knowing that, Donald Trump's been posting photos of Bannon on his social media platform. Well, Bannon said this morning that Donald Trump will use ICE in order to surround the polls and I guess block people from voting. This is what Bannon posted this morning. This is not getting attention really anywhere else. This is what he said on his own podcast this morning. Yeah, I think this should be front page news. Here, play this clip right here.
You're damn right. We're going to have ICE surround the polls come November. We're not going to sit here and allow you to steal the country again. And you can whine and cry and throw your toys out of the pram all you want, but we will never again allow an election to be stolen.
Now, as I said, I want to bring you into that hearing where Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent committed perjury moments ago. Watch as Congresswoman Waters was cross-examining Bessent, and he said that he never said in a letter that tariffs are inflationary. I'm going to play this clip in a moment, but here's the letter that he sent from his private equity company, Key Square Capital Management, LLC, when he was running it, January 31st, 2024. Dear partners, we begin 2024 with a set of 3 high-conviction ideas that are based on what the Key Square investment team perceives as anomalies, erroneous conventional wisdom, or various perceptions on our part. Go on. Another differentiated view that we have is that Trump will pursue a weak dollar policy rather than implementing tariffs. Tariffs are inflationary and would strengthen the dollar. Hardly a good starting point for a U.S. industrial renaissance. Weakening the dollar early in a second administration would make U.S. manufacturing competitive. A weak dollar, plentiful cheap energy could power a boom. The current Wall Street consensus is for a strong dollar based on the tariffs. We strongly disagree. A strong dollar should emerge by the end of his term if the U.S. reshoring efforts is successful. Well, I showed you all the headlines that manufacturing is in a recession right now. That letter is signed Scott Bessent and the Key Square team. Okay, that's what I mean. I show you the data. Here's what Bessent said at the hearing. Play this clip.
Details about this, but did you write a letter to investors raising concerns about the impact of tariffs, writing that, quote, tariffs are inflationary? Did you say that at that time, yes or no?
No.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have a New York Times article that, agrees that you said that. New York Times. Then last summer, when you testified before a Senate committee, you said, and I quote, there is no inflation. Tariffs are not being passed on to consumers. You were quite definitive and even claimed that critics had, quote, tariff derangement syndrome. Well, those comments are at odds with the statement you made to investors that tariffs are inflationary. Again, I want to be clear, so just let me ask you, are tariffs inflationary, yes or no?
According to the San Francisco Federal Reserve, with 150 years of data,
yes or no?
Tariffs do not cause inflation. San Francisco Federal Reserve.
Well, last November, as the Trump administration finally began to realize that affordability issues in
Ever wake up sweaty, freezing, or just uncomfortable? The temperature in your bedroom can make or break your sleep. That's why I switched to Miracle Made sheets. They're inspired by NASA technology and use silver-infused temperature-regulating fabric to help you sleep perfectly all night long. Miracle Made sheets feel just as good, if not better, than sheets you'd find at a 5-star hotel, but without the steep price tag. Smooth, breathable, and ridiculously comfortable. Thanks to their antibacterial silver technology, Miracle Made sheets stay cleaner and fresher up to 3 times longer than regular sheets. That means fewer odors, fewer wash cycles, and way less laundry. All that hidden bacteria in regular sheets, it can clog your pores and cause breakouts. Miracle Made's antibacterial design helps you sleep cleaner and clearer night after night. Miracle Made sheets are crafted with NASA-inspired silver-infused fabric that helps regulate your body temperature. Hot sleeper, cold sleeper, it doesn't matter. These sheets help keep you in the comfort zone all night long. Upgrade your sleep or give the gift of better rest. Go to trymiracle.com/Meidas to try Miracle Made sheets today. You'll save over 40%, and when you use the promo code Meidas, you'll get an extra 20% off plus a free 3-piece towel set. They make for an amazing gift, and with a 30-day money-back guarantee, there's no risk. That's trymiracle.com/Meidas, code Meidas at checkout. Thanks to Miracle Made for sponsoring this episode.
That's why these guys lie about everything. The way Howard Lutnick said, Epstein, I've never spoken to him ever since 2005. And then he's all over the files speaking to Epstein. I don't know about you, but I'm just sick and tired of these people who just lie to us all of the time when we're just trying to live our freaking lives. That's what, to me, it's about. And that's not a Democrat, Republican, or independent issue. That's just a can we be normal issue? Speaking of which, you have Congressmember Green, Democratic Congressmember Green, cross-examining Bessent about, do you think that it's okay? Do you have any concerns that Donald Trump tells people to buy his DJT stock, to inflate it and manipulate the market? Like, you're the Treasury Secretary. Does that bother you? Here, play this clip.
I ask you kindly, and as one professional to another, Mr. Treasury Secretary, do you think that this should be investigated, the president's stock being linked to his Truth Social message, and that stock having gone up by some $415 million in a single day, and this is a stock that was doing very poorly prior to that, hadn't had a lot of success. Do you think that this should be investigated?
No, sir.
Kindly explain to me why we would not investigate the president making such an announcement as it relates to his stock and then reaping some $415 million as the potential capital.
Well, all Americans benefited from the rebound in the markets that day. And in fact, the rebound in the market after that was the fastest in market history.
Yes.
And then instead of answering questions from Democratic House members, Bessent has like a list of notes from the White House, as Aaron Ruper writes, and he just starts attacking. Whoever's asking the question, play this clip.
To know whether you will commit today to pause and heighten the scrutiny of any bank charter or licensing application at the OCC connected to the World Liberty Financial until all of these conflicts of interest and foreign influence reviews are completed and shared with the United States Congress. All I need to know is, will you halt it and do a complete investigation and scrutiny of this licensing application? The answer is yes or no.
No, Congressman.
All you have to ask is
the
yes or no.
OCC is an independent entity, and I would know, Congressman.
I take that as a no.
You traveled to Venezuela.
I take that as a no.
On behalf of
I take that as a no.
On behalf of your donor.
You do not want to answer that question. I take that as a no.
For a $7 billion.
I'm asking you to do your responsibility as Secretary of the Treasury.
Into a Venezuelan.
You do not.
Mr. Makes.
Will you?
Time has expired.
You cannot erase.
Should also be noted that Republican Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina had the following to say on CNBC this morning. Play this clip.
Just wanted to ask you what your reaction is to the reaction of the president by your comments. Not, I don't think necessarily just in this particular case, but he called you a loser recently because of some of the comments that you made about Kristi Noem and also Stephen Miller.
Yeah.
I said that obviously qualifies me to be the Homeland Security Secretary and senior advisor to the president. Look, these are the people who are losing. Stephen Miller is the one who went down the rabbit hole of Greenland before he went down the rabbit hole of plussing up resources in Minneapolis and creating a horrible situation there. Kristi Noem has failed both in terms of her ICE role and in terms of her response to Helene in North Carolina. I mean, they're behind by about a year and a half. There's no comparison between Kristi Noem in this administration and President Trump's first administration, which was extraordinary. So you want to use that kind of language? I'm fine if that qualifies me for at least two senior positions for the president, because I consider them losers. Then we'll move on. Otherwise, we could act like adults, use adult language, and get things done.
And then Donald Trump is posting away about ballrooms and golden arches or whatever the hell he's talking about. But that's what's happening this morning. We'll keep you posted every step of the way. Hit subscribe, and thanks for watching.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.